So you know that the Ukraine war was provoked by the United States and NATO, and intentionally. And so we backed Putin into a corner, so he had nothing else to do but to invade. And Putin gave a speech, and he let everybody know that they had a peace agreement already worked out with Ukraine. 100% worked out. Yesterday, Putin revealed an extremely important piece of information. In April 2022, an agreement of permanent neutrality of Ukraine was signed between Russia and Ukraine. It also reveals that the Western narrative that Putin can't be trusted is just another projection.
They said no one signed a contract. I thought about this before.
So this was the deal they had. They had a deal, and what Putin wants is Ukraine to remain neutral, meaning don't join NATO. So just like we wouldn't want Mexico or Canada to join in a military alliance with Russia.
We would invade them.
We would.
They're sovereign nations.
We would invade them. So, and he says, goes on to say, the basic outline of this agreement is as follows. Russia withdraws troops from Kiev, Sumy, and Chernigov. Ukraine declares neutrality. Ukraine reduces its armed forces. Ukraine gives up NATO aspirations in exchange for security guarantees from a number of countries. That sounds very, very, very reasonable.
But Putin is a bad man, so that's
he's
why
a thug. He's a gangster.
You have to trick him. You have to sign a thing in bad faith because he's so bad, he's going to break it. And that's why you need to be the scumbag who breaks it first.
You break it first.
And we're good people. That's why we think like that.
That's like preemptive. That's like George Bush preemptive. I could tell you were going to attack me, so I'm going to attack you first.
Everyone's a criminal, Jimmy, just like me. So that's why I do the criminal thing first, or else they're going to do it.
Or else they're going to do it. That's this logic.
America.
The countries in question are the UK, the US, Turkey, France, China, and Belarus. But what happened next will most likely go down in history as the beginning of an end of Ukraine as we know it. Russia did indeed withdraw its troops, which was joked about as a gesture of goodwill. Remember? I remember that. It was coined as the defeat of Russia in the Battle of Kiev. I remember when Russia pulled out of Kiev and everyone said, oh, Putin's getting his ass kicked. No,
wait, that's right.
Putin did that as a show of good nature, of good faith in his negotiation.
Oh, right.
It was coined as the defeat of Russia in the Battle of Kiev. It turns out that it was indeed a gesture of goodwill. Having snuffed it out, Boris Johnson, remember we reported this, Boris Johnson flew to meet with Zelensky, who subsequently, on the orders of Washington, threw this treaty in the dustbin of history. So Zelensky's working directly for NATO and the United States military-industrial complex, and the military-industrial complex is in bed with the Nazis in Ukraine, and they work together. So if Zelensky doesn't do what they say, they'll have the Nazis kill him.
Fun fact about that.
And the Nazis have already said that they will kill him.
Well, speaking of the military-industrial complex, you know, when that started after World War II, when we did Operation Paperclip to smuggle all the Nazis,
all the
to save all those Nazis to help us, not just scientists, just crazy terrorists,
regular Nazis
to fight. Yeah, a lot of them got installed in important positions in the military-industrial complex. So I don't want to point too many fingers at Ukraine for because that's what we did.
That's what we did. From this moment on, the escalation curve steepens to the state of no return for Ukraine, as the West seems to have promised a slew of wonder weapons and unlimited support to Ukraine to defeat the pesky Russians once and for all.
Wunderbar.
This led directly to the did I do this? No. Starting in late April 2022, of vast quantities of Western precision weapons linked to the full glare of NATO's intelligence and surveillance apparatus. No other escalation in Western support has remotely approached this one in significance. So this because we're fighting Russia. Since even before the conflict, we've been hearing weasels like Paul Massaro and McFaul scream at the top of their lungs that Russia cannot be trusted and Russia always lies. But as we can see here, the reality is quite different, and it's the West and Ukraine that constantly lie. The bloodthirsty psychopath leaders of the West wanted Russian blood so much that they sacrificed an entire nation to satisfy their thirst for Russian blood and expose themselves to once again be cynical hypocrites, and now they too are paying the price. NATO believed its own propaganda about the incapacity of the Russian army and wanted to kill some Russians so bad that it pushed Ukraine to the precipice of annihilation, despite an almost reached peace agreement that it triggered the process of self-demilitarization along the way.
I would say she's being dramatic if I hadn't watched Lindsey Graham go, "We are soaked in Russia." He said something crazy like that.
We're best money we ever spent killing Russia.
Killing Russia, like just in those words.
The former Israel Prime Minister Naftali Bennett has also confirmed that peace talks have been derailed by the Western leaders. Quite the move by Putin to reveal the signed treaty on Ukraine's neutrality security guarantees at this moment. Most of us remember how Russia was ridiculed for pulling its soldiers away from Kiev. The treaty proves why they did so. And Aaron Mate says, yet more evidence that there was a tentative deal to end Russia's invasion in April 2022, only to be sabotaged by U.S. and U.K., unless someone wants to argue that the document Putin showed is fake. And nobody's saying that's a fake document.
No, their claim is, yeah, of course we signed it. We had to trick him because he's an evil man. So that's why we had to be liars. Mm-hmm. And then people go, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I know.
You should preemptively commit a crime against someone. I mean, it's unbelievable.
I know.
I would say it's fake. That's like a better thing to say.
But the propaganda is so overwhelming in America, even though people don't trust the news media and they don't trust politicians, they still believe what they hear. People still believe that Putin is a thug and a gangster. Somehow worse. He might be. He's no worse than any one of the presidents we've ever had, ever.
Yeah, I think
he's no worse than any of them. He's
small time.
He's small-time gangster.
He's up the Bud Light king of gang.
Yeah. Hey, come see us live on tour. Be in Bakersfield, Baltimore, San Francisco, Huntington Beach, Rosemont, and Chicago, Las Vegas, Salt Lake City, New York City, Pottstown, Pennsylvania, Stamford, Connecticut, and more. Hey, go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.